My Omo has been honored. You guys remember when I told you that I was going to bring a second episode concerning the topic on Mark Angel comedy? You guys remember, ba? Today is that day. Hey, did you hear what my ears heard? I mean, like, it's really crazy, fam. It's really crazy. Anyways, before we go any further, I'd like to welcome you guys to another wonderful episode of the Kiwi Show. You know how it is here. We bring in nothing but the best gist, the best topics. And if this is your first time seeing my beautiful face, how about you click that like button, subscribe, and do not forget to share to your friends. This is because we bring you nothing, absolutely nothing, but the very best here on the Kiwi Show. So, my dear brothers and sisters, you see this thing when we talk about power, all right? It's not even about getting into the wrong hands. Right now, no hand is right hand, no hand is wrong hand. That's just the simple truth. When power gets into your hand as a person, why should the first instinct you have be to oppress people who are, I don't want to say below, people who you are in a position to help? Why is your first instinct to, I don't know if this is a problem with money and power. Does it just come and change the person, or is it that that's how that person has been? And then when power and money came into the picture, the person now decided to reflect whoever it was. The person can now show whoever he is out there. All right, guys. So first of all, okay, let's take this thing bit by bit. Let's take it slowly. How many of us remember when Mark Angel comedy started? Like back then in the 2010s, all right? That was when we started hearing Mark Angel, Emmanuella, Success, Anti-Success, and Denilson Igwe. As a matter of fact, if you watched closely, most of those roles, like most of the videos we watched, right, the major roles were mostly Emmanuela, Denilson, and Anti-Success. This what I'm trying to say is that these guys were like the major stars of the show. Mark didn't really do much. I'm just going to be honest. Like, his presence was almost not visible in most of those videos, although he did his bit. He did. But the main stars of the show were Emmanuella, Denilson Igwe, and Anti-Success. Now, who is Mark Angel? I'm going to give you a brief intro of who Mark Angel is. As a matter of fact, his name is Mark Ebere. And the Angel name, like, came up as a result of his show. Now, Mark Angel was born on the 27th of May, 1991, and he's a Nigerian comedian, scriptwriter, and video producer. He's best known for the Mark Angel comedy series on YouTube, and it often features child comedians such as Emmanuela Samuel and Anti-Success Madubuike, and of course, Denilson Igwe. Now, Mark Angel's YouTube channel was the first African comedy channel to reach 1 million subscribers, and YouTube gave them an award for it. So now, who is Emmanuella? All right, because she is the major star of that show. Whenever you hear Mark Angel, everybody's head just goes to Emmanuella. Once you hear Mark Angel comedy, Emmanuella, that's the first person that pops or like that comes to mind, because she's the main star of the show. Now, I remember what I said in my last video, right? I was always like, why is this show even called Mark Angel when it's Emmanuella? This thing should be called Emmanuella. I said that in my previous because that was how I felt back then when I was watching their videos. I felt Emmanuella should be the highlight. I felt it was her show and was all about her. So now let's continue. Who is Emmanuella? Now, Emmanuella is Mark Angel's longest appearing actress. She has won comedy awards in Nigeria and Australia for her work with Mark Angel, and is Africa's youngest YouTube award winner. She started film work in school as a part of a class video project prior to being chosen by Mark Angel for his, table of actors. Now, videos starring her often reach up to 1 million views in the first week after posting. You see why I said she was a major star? Mark Angel comedy received a plaque from YouTube for having reached 1 million subscriptions in 2017. It was the first Nigerian-based YouTube channel to reach that threshold. In 2018, it was announced that Emmanuella Samuel would be attached to an upcoming Disney feature film. And on the 2nd of April 2020, during the COVID-19 lockdowns, Emmanuella, Success, and Regina Daniels were featured in a skit by Ofego titled Lockdown on his YouTube channel using archive footage. In the summer of 2021, Mark Angel signed a contract with 1xBet, an online gambling company popular in Nigeria. And Angel, that is Mark Angel Comedy, has tens of millions of followers on social media, including 21 million followers on Facebook, 2.5 million on Instagram. These are like approximately, it should be more than right now. I mean, the number of subscribers and the followers they have on their social media handles should be more than what I've just said, okay? Because it's like it grows by the minute. And 8.85 million subscribers on YouTube. or more. These are just approximates. So now, you guys have heard this. Having said all this, how did they climb to this top? How did they achieve this level of success? Now, somebody has come out to like give us a breakdown of how this entire success I just talked about was achieved. Now, we have Denilson Igwe. Remember I mentioned that part of his cast, that's the people who always show up in the comedies, the major stars of the show, included Emmanuella, Samuel, and Denilson Igwe, and of course, anti-success Madubuike. So, Denilson Igwe, a former member of the Angel family, has come out and decided to lay open on social media everything from the beginning of Angel comedy to right now, how things have been. Okay? Now, Denilson Igwe. Who is Denilson Igwe? You see, Denilson Igwe is a well-known Nigerian comedian and actor, famous for his funny skits with Angel comedy. He was born and raised in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, but he is originally from Abia State. Despite facing tough times as an orphan, Denilson had used his talent and hard work to become a successful entertainer. His humor and creativity have earned him many fans and a strong place in the comedy world. Now, that's a brief intro of who Denilson Igwe is. But what is the real story? Denilson revealed to us in this interview with the Honest Bunch podcast that he was an orphan who was adopted into Mark's family. That is Mark Ebere. Alright, I'm going to be addressing him as Mark throughout this video. So he was adopted into Mark's family, and being a help to the household, he was younger. He was younger than Mark. He saw Mark as a senior brother. Alright, he looked up to Mark as a brother, and I think he was pretty much grateful for belonging to a family, having the opportunity to belong to a family. Most orphans don't get that chance. Okay, most orphans don't get the chance to be part of a family again, or they don't always get the chance to get into good families. So Denilson was opportune to live with that family, and he explained how his relationship, how like the kind of close relationship he believed he had with Mark. Before the show started, Mark used to work as a security person at Kilimanjaro, Port Harcourt. Now, Denilson has always been full of creativity, all right? He's always been that humorous kind of person, all right? And then he says, you know what, he had interest in, camera, things that had to do with filmmaking and stuff. So he worked in the church first as part of the camera, the media. So he would sneakily take the church's camera and go out to make content, do his thing. It's a good thing he always returned the camera back in one piece, because if he didn't, it would have been another trouble on his head. But here's the thing. He did a content that succeeded one time. I think he was paid for it. And then then he was now able to talk to Mark again, because the first time he talked to Mark was like, it's not going to make sense. Okay. Then when he eventually shows Mark that, see, this thing can actually work, Mark was now like, okay, fine. You know what? Let's come together. Let's do this. In my first video, I believed, we made a speculation that it was probably Mark, and that is why the name of the thing is called Angel Comedy. That it was probably Mark who started the whole thing, who said everybody, oh yeah, come together. Do you understand? But now we are getting to hear another side of the story. Denilson is saying that it was his initiative. The whole idea of having a comedy series on, how do I put it? A comedy series. Let me just leave it at comedy series. The whole idea of having a comedy series was his own, initiative. It was his idea. Mark tapped into it and saw that this thing is making progress of some sort. And one thing led to another. According to Denilson, the name was not Angel Comedy before, all right, but eventually Mark was able to convince him and told him to remove his name should not be there, and eventually turned it to Angel Comedy. Are you seeing where this is going? Now, by the time they started making waves, their videos started getting popular, Mark had convinced Denilson that there's no money coming in from anywhere on YouTube, all right? But then the funny thing was that YouTube was paying, actually. I said then YouTube was paying. But Mark made Denilson believe that nothing was coming from YouTube. There would be cases where, when the whole spark started getting featured, being called by big brands, big names, when they would travel to different countries, and all that. In fact, let me just sum it up to when the success started, the main success itself started. It became an issue because the problem now is, this is the problem. The problem was not that there was money coming in and Mark was hoarding or trying to keep everything to himself. Yes, that is part out of the problem. But the main issue now for Denilson was the fact that Mark was lying from the onset. That at some point, Mark even told him that YouTube does not give any money. In fact, that he even wants to stop it, that there's nothing coming in from YouTube. In other words, Mark was completely dishonest about the fact that they could make money. So it was Denilson on his own when he eventually found out there's something he mentioned, a social bleed. So he said he was able to find out how much he could, or they were possibly making from YouTube. Their content was making on YouTube. And he saw that Mark has been dishonest. I don't know. Look, it's two different things. It's different when money, you tell your people that money is coming, but money is not much. Do you understand? Than when you tell them that there's no money at all at all. Am I making sense? So that was the case. That was why Denilson became bitter, because he was lied to. A lot of us are of the opinion, is it because Mark is now succeeding that maybe it's envy, maybe it's jealousy. Denilson is not happy. That is a very plausible thought. You understand? That's a very plausible train of thought. But now we are looking at the fact that this person actually has a right to be angry if, in truth, he was lied to about the money, that's the monetary aspect of their gigs. I don't know if I'm making sense. All right. Now, that was what I thought we were dealing with. I mean, we all thought that, not so. We all thought that we were dealing with maybe a business breach, a breach of contract, where we say Mark supposed pay him, you understand? He's supposed to see money from waiting him and Mark they do, but see, we thought that was just it. But the interview has opened our eyes to other things. As a matter of fact, it's no longer painting Mark himself as a boss that is not fair. It is painting him as a bad person in general. No, there are people who are good people. They are kind. They are nice. It's just that when it comes to business, when it comes to money, you have problem with them. Okay? That one is different. When it comes to money, they are not good people. But in other ramifications, they are good people. But that's not the case here. Denison's interview only made us understand that Mark is probably evil. And he's a bad person in general, because he mentioned that at the time of his mother's death, Mark was not present. Mark did not show up at his mother's burial. In other words, he neglected his family. His father does not live in a proper home. His family, as a matter of fact, Denilson kept on trying to, let me not say kept on, from his story, what he made us understand is that Mark is a bad person. Because I mean, why wouldn't you show interest in your mother's well-being up until the time of her death? That is crazy. That is really, really, really crazy. Wow, fam. Now, I am going to mention some of the things I'm going to be stating. I don't know how many of us got it, but in case you didn't watch the interview, I'm going to be doing a summary. Here are some of the things that Denilson accused Mark Angel Comedy of. So at the time the money started coming in and Mark was trying to be sneaky about it, Emmanuela's people, started suspecting. Do you understand? I mean, how can you guys be making all these trips, doing all this stuff, and you still say money is not coming in? Now, what happened was that Mark had Emmanuela's cousin arrested, the one that tried to stand up for her. Mark had the young man arrested, all right? And when the father that's Emmanuela's father, eventually decided to try to pry. When Emmanuela's dad, Mr. Samuel, tried to pry and say, what's in this? So he called Denilson. I was like, Denilson, how far? Are you sure this thing is really not bringing money? So initially, according to Denilson was initially he thought truly that it wasn't bringing money. So I think the first time he spoke with Manuela's father on that, he was of the opinion that no, it wasn't bringing money. But again, when his eyes were now opened, all right, I think he reasoned with the man. And then they had to involve the police. Now, what happened with the police? Mark eventually showed up. Mark himself showed up at the scene. And according to Denilson, he was asked to step out. And there was a meeting carried out concerning the issue between just Mark, Emmanuela's dad, and the police officer in charge at the time. So they spoke, came to their agreements. And by the time Emmanuela's dad came out, his tone changed. And was like, whatever it is you are doing with the Emmanuela contract, whatever, just take yourself out of the picture. Take yourself out of the picture. Mark has settled me. That was what Denilson said happened. Okay? In other words, what it's looking like is that maybe Mark brought out a few cents, a few millions, or hundreds of thousands, and settled with the police officer and Emmanuela's dad, and got out of the case pretty easy. Now I'm going to come to that whole action, because that is abuse of power. Yes, that is abuse of power. All right, you feel you have money and that you're in a position to do some certain things. Therefore, you shut everybody up that doesn't have money, and because you have money, you shut every other person up and you treat people unfairly. I'm going to come to that, but that will be later. So now, another thing that Mark was accused of was the fact that he was in charge of everybody's account and disbursed funds however he liked. okay? Initially, according to Denilson, he wasn't really giving Emmanuela anything before, but when the whole issue started getting a bit shaky, he was not like, okay, he's going to pay Emmanuela 20k every month. All right. I don't know if you guys are seeing this. Are you people following this whole story? Now, Denilson accused Mark of being in control of everything. When I mean everything, like their account. So even an account that's supposed to be like their personal accounts. No, Mark was in control of every single thing. Whatever money was being made from those accounts, Mark the marker. I don't know if you guys are following. Now, if you think about it, from the tone, from the way Denilson was approaching this issue, he kept on saying, I did not know. Okay? So it's a situation of being cajoled into something you were not sure of. Because he trusted this person, he decided to go into that thing because of trust. He believed he was working with a brother, all right? But when things started going south, he was not like, he's now trying to voice out. Because how monkey they walk, baboon go they chop. Nothing for the monkey. It's not fair now. I mean, you guys think about it. So Denilson kept on trying to tell us that he wasn't aware that I saw this thing they be. You get? And that was why Mark was like left at the hem of affairs, because he was looking up to Mark. That whole thing, that whole arrangement should have been a joint, what's it called? Activity. This whole business should have been partnership business. Nobody was supposed to be the boss, because if you look at it, if there should be a boss, it should have been Denilson, because he brought the idea. But no, Mark sort of like softly colonizes everything because he's the older brother. I'm also going to be talking about the fact that elders tend to be bullies without even knowing. That's the simple truth. Elders, they tend to be bullies and they don't even know. I'm going to like explain what I mean by that eventually. All right. So now let's continue looking at the things that Denilson accused Mark of. Now, Denilson also said, I'm not going to like say everything. All right. But I'm just going to give you the major ones. He also said that he was the one who gave Mark Angel the name Mark Angel. Are you seeing everything? These are some of the things that Denilson said. And then he also said, towards the ending of the interview, that Mark realized that without Denilson's presence, his channel became a little bit shaking. You understand? I mean, Emmanuela is still there. Yes, okay. But people kept on asking him after Denilson, where is Denilson? When is Denilson going to come back? Stuff like that. So he would get maybe their previous video together and then look for a way to make it rebranded or something, the thumbnail, whatever, and then post it again. And it's like, Denilson, welcome back. All right. When Denilson is not back, and it would give his video, more, that's like a clickbait. It will give his video more views. It will give his video more attention. Whereas, you understand? Denilson is not yet back in the picture. So for those of us that are wondering, what was the rift between Mark Angel and Denilson? Hear me now and hear me clearly. The rift was money. Money matter. Money matter, all right? It was majorly money matter, but the more we delve into issues, we now, let me tell you something. What I realized from that entire interview was that Denilson knew who Mark was, because he literally lived, like he grew up with this person. There's something that how this person is, but you've decided to tolerate him because of maybe bond. All right, because of a bond that has been established between, let me say I have a sibling and I know that this person has bad character, but I cannot throw them away. They're still my brother, and I cannot just come out and I'll be saying all sorts of nasty things about the person. But the moment money is involved and that's my sibling starts to rip me, money knows how to just highlight everything. Let me tell you the truth. And then my brother starts to deal with me money wise. I'm suffering, I'm in pain, whereas he's enjoying the fruit of my labor. I might be tempted to come out and speak. Why? Because money is now involved. I don't know if I'm making sense. But I was willing to tolerate that his bad character when the money was not there. Do you see the thing? So it's not like he didn't know all these bad things about Mark initially. The reason why he's coming out now to speak is because it's becoming bad. He has mouths to feed. He has responsibilities. And the person he felt was his older brother is not fulfilling his basic role first. Then not to now talk about, their business. I don't know if you guys are understanding. Now, it's one thing to be talented. There's something we call showbiz, right? Showbiz is show business. It's one thing to be talented, to have the ability to be creative and make nice shows. Then it's another thing to know the business aspect of it. And that was Denilson's problem. He knew the show well, but he didn't know the business part. And that's why he was ripped. Let me put it that way. I think he was ripped. They don't rip him. But it's sad, honestly, if the core of this video is going to be centered around if everything Denilson said is true. So if everything Denilson has brought to our table, has brought to our notice is true, then let's talk about these things. Denilson made us understand that Mark didn't have a very wonderful relationship with his dad, okay? He didn't have a nice relationship with his dad, that he preferred his mother. And even the mother that he preferred, he wasn't even there when the woman died. So at this point, are you saying that maybe the reason why the man didn't even like his son, Mark, was maybe because Mark as a person had a flaw? Maybe he was a problematic child? Because I don't see any reason why a man will wake up one morning and decide he hates his son. I doubt that. So maybe Mark was actually problematic. And that's why the father no send them in Denison's voice. Sorry, I quoted Denilson. That's why the father no send them. You get? And then the mother trying her best to see if she can hold the family together. Holding the family together. This thing I'm saying is not like my assumption. These are Denison's words. That it was the mom that tried to hold that family together. So there's a problem somewhere. There's a problem somewhere. Right now, what we're understanding is that Mark himself is a problematic person. Yes, that's what this whole thing means. And now, let's say Mark had daddy issues. He didn't feel like he was treated well by his father. There was something that one of the hosts on the Honest Bunch podcast asked. She said, why do people, you've been here and you didn't like how you were treated? Why do you go on ahead to do it to other people when you're now in a better position? Why do you then go on to hurt others? And I believe she must have asked this question maybe because of, how Mark was treating Denilson, knowing fully well how it feels to be neglected by somebody that you love. You get? My answer to that question is it's a bit tricky. Now here's the thing. Aside from the usual cliche, hurt people, wounded people, wound people, no. Aside from that, do you know that sometimes human beings give you the reason why you shouldn't have helped them? Some humans are very funny. I'm not even gonna lie. You come from, let's say, a place, an environment where you were bullied. Do you get? And this one, I'm talking from experience. If you don't put people in their place, and act wicked small, people will take you for a ride. That's just the simple truth. Humans, in general, sometimes some human beings don't deserve that good thing you want to do for them, or that good person you are. That is why some very soft-hearted people, some very nice persons, their ego defense mechanism is to put up a mean disposition. They look mean, you think they are snobs, they hardly talk to people. Because when you get to know them very well, you realize this person is just a soft sweetheart. So the question why people replicate evil, that is just the same issue the thing plays out everywhere. It's just like in secondary school, like in high school, you get into junior high, you have your seniors mistreating you. When you still become a senior, you also mistreat your juniors that will eventually become seniors that will mistreat their own juniors. The cycle goes on over and over and over. And if you say, okay, I'm going to break the cycle, I'm going to be a nice senior, your juniors are going to take you for a ride and feel that, they can do anyhow because this senior is tolerant, this senior is nice. I'm just painting a picture for you how life is. So I'm not saying you shouldn't be a good person or that you should let people change you. You get? My point is, in as much as you're trying to be good and you don't want to do to others the thing that was done to you, strike a balance. Do you understand? Try to always strike a balance. Put people in their place. You get? You should put people in their place, but don't be extreme. Don't be an extremist. Don't be too good. Don't be too bad. Even Jesus is good, not was. Sorry, he still is. So Jesus is good. He still put people in their place at some point. Remember when he made the whip and some people in the temple, you remember that, right? It didn't mean that he didn't love human beings at then. Because if that incident made him stop loving human beings, he wouldn't have died on the cross. I don't know if you guys get what I'm saying. Putting people in their place is very, very important. But don't be an extremist. And that's what we're looking at here today. Do you guys think Mark was an extremist? Because maybe the boy is a house boy, telling him things like, I need you, you don't have any right to look for more. Whatever it is I give you, you should be okay with it. Do you think that's right from Mark? Honestly, I don't think that's cool. As a matter of fact, if Denilson was much more well-informed back then, he should have established this thing as partnership business. This thing was supposed to be a partnership business, not so single-handedly owned by Mark. I want to talk about some subtopics, and the first one I said I was going to talk about is the abuse of power. If you notice recently, you can't even open up and speak ill of someone who is in a higher position, whether financially or, when it comes to status, social status, somebody that is higher than you, cannot talk anyhow about them. The next thing you will see yourself is in prison. You can't say a word. And if you notice, abuse of power thrives more in this part of the world. It does. What I mean it does is that if you want to compare with foreign countries. In some foreign countries, when somebody who has a big name, do you understand? When there's somebody with a big name in power, and they're doing, sneaky business, they will have one corrupt police officer, you understand, in the police force that maybe will be doing 1 or 2 spyings for them. They establish those kind of bonds, but it doesn't mean that the entire police is corrupt. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. If you follow closely, where there's good, there's bad, or where there's bad, there's good rather. So you will still see one very stubborn detective that wants to take down this big man. I don't know if there's still hope for justice in those countries that are working well, in the first world countries. But in this part of the world, even that person that is doing justice over justicial human being that is doing, it's because they've not given him the right amount of money. When they give him, we shut up. And that is why that power abuse is thriving in this part of our world. It's really sad. I honestly wish something can be done about it. Why I say I wish is because I doubt anything can be done about it. Do you know why? Because even those of us at the bottom that are crying, oh, this thing needs to stop, when we are put in those positions, are we going to do better? Are we? Some of us that are praying that something bad should happen to our leaders, in fact, let them die, let them get out of the picture. When you now enter that picture, when you're now there in their position, are you going to do better? You see, that's the issue. Most of us don't even know ourselves. Most of us don't. And it's really sad. And I'll continue to say I wish. I just wish things could change. Now, the next thing I said I was going to talk about was elders tend to be bullies, but some of them don't even know. I'm telling you the truth. Especially in this part of the world, in a typical African home or African setting, you are to respect your elder no matter what. Even if that elder is abusing you or hurting you, you are to respect your elder. Obey before complain. That is their alias. Sorry, it's not alias, their watchword, their motto. Obey before complain. I don't even know where they got that from. So you see someone older than you manipulating you, hurting you emotionally, and they don't even know they are doing that. They feel it's their right, it's their entitlement. If I want to send my junior one on an errand and I'm like, please help me get this. I've had a friend of mine before. I came to their house. I came to visit them. The little girl that was working with them, I don't know, please, can you please help me get water? I was courteous. I said, please. I was like, why are you telling her please? That is my friend. She was like, why are you telling her please? I was supposed to tell her to get you water. Now which one is please again? Now why am I adding please? She, on her own end, she's not wrong. She feels when I was young, they used to send me anyhow to get. So now that I'm big, I should be able to send anybody. I don't know if you get where this whole thing is coming from. It has been a repeated cycle over time that older people don't even know when they're being bullies. They don't. And it's sad because that is the case of Denilson and Mark. He feels like, from what we've heard, right? He feels that Denilson, this boy that my family helped, or myself, I helped him. I raised him to the point that he's a human being today is because of me. So this guy shouldn't have a say. This guy shouldn't even try to get anything for himself. Whatever it is I give him, he should be satisfied with it. Can you see what is playing out? Can you see? Anyways, the truth of the matter is we're yet to hear Mark's take on the whole matter. You get? Because I don't believe he's going to keep quiet for long, especially after this. You do realize that Denilson called K. Brown, one of the actors, he's currently working with Mark Angel Comedy, called him, and this guy on live program, I think he was unaware that he was on a live program. So this guy makes these calls on, I don't know how many of you watched up to that point. He made calls on the live show. These people were not even aware that they were on a live show. All right. He made these calls, and these guys confirmed that, especially the K Brown guy, he confirmed that he has not even been able to pay his rent. He's struggling. This is somebody who is supposedly working with a brand that is recognized globally. I mean, Mark Angel Comedy is recognized it's the biggest comedy platform in Africa, not just Nigeria, in Africa. And for him to have done that without any restriction whatsoever, as in the guy is even willing to call more persons. He brought the contract to the show, he brought his evidences, everything. Personally, I feel like this guy has a case. Do you understand? I think he can actually push forward legally, despite the things that the lawyer on that show said. I feel like this guy can actually pursue this whole thing legally. The major issue, right, we believe that is money. Do you understand? Between Mark and Denilson, we are feeling everybody now that's what it looks like. Okay, that is money that is the issue. But now here's the situation. most of the times, whenever an issue or a matter escalates like this between two persons who were supposedly, close to each other, and money is involved, if you check very well from the beginning, this guy had lived with Mark literally for the most part of his life. He has lived with Mark for the longest time, so he knows this person. He knows this person's good side, this person's bad side. He knows this person's bad character. Do you understand? But he was willing to be with him because this is like family. There's a bond that has already been established. It's just like me and my sibling now, me and my brother. Okay, it's just like me and my brother. He might have a terrible character, but I am willing to, ignore that bad character of his because it's still my brother. Okay, but the moment money comes into the picture, people will always have the need to cry out because it won't be fair. All right, monkey they walk, baboon they chop. It won't be fair. Now, if you look at the setting, Denilson was a houseboy, yeah, but somehow he was still treated like family, and that was why he looked up to Mark as an older brother. Did you get? He was willing to tolerate any. It's not like he didn't know Mark had his bad sides. Did you get? It's not like he didn't know that Mark had his bad sides. He probably was fully aware, but he didn't see any reason to make a big deal out of it. After all, everybody's family has their own bad sides. Okay, there's nobody in the world that has the perfect sibling or the perfect family. But now the matter is getting serious, where he can't even feed. Like, his child is in the picture. He has responsibilities. He has mouths to feed, and he can't. But he has somebody that he has worked with. He has invested somewhere, but he's not getting any ROI. He's not getting any return of his investments. I don't know if I'm making sense. So that you guys can understand why people don't just wake up and decide to tarnish another person's image. No, you must have been hurt to a reasonable extent for you to come out. Even if you now want to add pepper and salt to the story, it's understandable. Maybe because of the gravity or the rate at which you've been hurt. Look at all these things this guy said on this show. He was even, like I said, he was even ready to call more persons. Okay? And my goodness. Like I always say, in Kiwi show, check, balance. All right? Check and flip the other side of the coin. When I made my first video before the interview dropped, I stated the fact that there's a possibility that this guy could just be saying all these things. Do you understand? Like, I kind of like insinuated that everything that he's about to say. Why I made that video was for my viewers to understand that you should watch this thing with an open mind. Don't use any kind of bias or sentiments attached to either Mark or attached to Denilson to watch the show. Be open-minded so that you can even find out if there's going to be any loophole in the story. But once you're sentimental, you will listen to that story one-sidedly. If you love Denilson, do you understand? You're going to believe everything Denilson is, because even if he lies, you're going to believe everything he's saying. If you love Mark, you're not going to even listen to any plausible thing that Dennis is going. Do you get? So I made that video to like alert my fans, to alert my people, my Kiwi family. If you guys are watching, be open-minded, okay? As your hearts are reaching out to this guy, also consider the possibilities that almost everything he's going to say might not be accurate. Okay, so now I'm making this video especially for you guys because I promised I was going to make another video after the interview. Now, seeing that interview, having seen that interview, and having seen how prepared this Denilson guy was, he came out prepared with facts, figures, everything, even made phone calls. He was even willing to even call Mark on the show. It's crazy, guys. So this, like I said before, like I said originally, this video, the core of this video is, if everything this young man has said is true, if everything Denilson has said is true, don't you think he should push legally for this? Because, it's not fair. It wouldn't be fair to him that you've invested in something and you're not getting any return because somebody that's the person at the helm feels you don't deserve it. Why should your rewards in life for your hard work be tied to an individual? Why does one person have to decide how your life will go or the kind of rewards you would receive? I don't know if I'm making sense, guys. I don't know if you feel me. And then on the subject of Emmanuella and success, two young ladies in their adolescent age living with grown men. That topic is really sensitive and we cannot just jump into conclusions and draw conclusions because we haven't heard from Emmanuella, we haven't heard from Success, we haven't heard from Mark Angel himself. All right, everything we know so far now is just from one person's mouth, from Denison's mouth. I believe this matter is not about to end anytime soon. Okay, there's every possibility that Mark will eventually want to come out and defend himself. But then again, this issue of oppression is something that everybody is prone to. I don't know if I'm making sense. So I believe we need better people in this world. And being a better person, you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional to be good. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, because the truth of the matter is human beings are fickle. You might get into a position of power as a person. With all the good you intended to do, you start seeing some things. If your mind is not strong enough, you will bend. That is where the phrase, if you can't beat them, join them, came from. There are some things that you will not be able to do if your willpower is not strong enough. As a matter of fact, you start to see reasons why you have to go south like the others. The heart of man is very fickle. Human beings are very fickle. And that's a fact. That's a serious fact. Power. When you're put in a position of power, why don't you just use it to do good? Well, I am strongly of the opinion that once power enters into a black person's hand, I say this with my full chest, and I'm not hiding my mouth. Once power gets into a black person's hand, it's only in very few cases that we actually see some of them do good with it. I'm not even capping. The few black men we've seen that did good with the power they were given or whatnot. Martin Luther King made a major sacrifice. There are other black men in history that went down in history that did good things. Do you understand? So I'm not saying the black man is incapable of good, no. But you people should check it. Like, this is just going to be like a rough example, sort of. Like, just ponder. The moment the country started deteriorating, like when I mean deteriorating, as in nobody even thought it was going to get bad to this point that now we're about to stage a protest. Because right now, the state as with Nigeria is now, we don't even know if it can get worse than this. This is Nigeria's worst ever. And when this thing started was the moment we gained independence. We started ruling on our own. You can go to heaven and argue it and come back down. That was when Nigeria's problem started. Now, I'm not saying we're not capable of ruling ourselves. It's just that when power gets into, because power intoxicates and it intoxicates absolutely. You have to be intentional when power gets into your hand. Corruption is everywhere, yes. But if you notice, in this part of Africa, it is magnified. It is highly magnified. Why is a lot of attention? Like, why is the spotlight on Africa when it comes to corruption? Because look at our country. Look at where we are. Those foreign countries, you feel, yes, there's corruption in their system as well. But do you see how beautiful their country is? You want to go there for vacations, right? You go there, you take pictures, and it's like an achievement for once you travel abroad and you take pictures and post on social media. Oh, this person has made it in life for traveling abroad. Why is it like that? Is their system not? They have corruption in their system as well. There are corrupt people in their government too. But they, like I always say, they pacify their people. They do what they're supposed to do. They provide employment for their citizens. The least thing. You can survive on the minimum wage that they earn out there. The minimum wage in Nigeria is what again? So when I say what I say about power in the hands of a black man, I am not taking it back. Because the truth of the matter is we have to be intentional. What's the point of not saying? If I don't say it, I mean, like I always say, if you don't talk, nonsense will thrive. So I'm going to keep saying it. Look at this thing now, this case study we are looking at, the case of Mark Angel and Denilson. Denilson is your houseboy, and so houseboy doesn't mean that he must never succeed in life. Houseboy doesn't mean that he must be attached to you and what's it called, eats breadcrumbs from your table the rest of his life. He should not pursue his own destiny because he was a houseboy. Can you see what I'm talking about? Even from the littlest positions, from the smallest positions of power, you want to oppress, you want to hurt people. I spoke on Ashmushi's case here the last time. You're in a position of power of some sort, and then you decide to oppress people with it. You won't go for an ad. Why did you take the money? These are the issues. The moment we start telling ourselves the truth, the better for us. We're yet to hear Mark Angel's take on this whole thing, and we're also yet to hear from Emmanuella and the rest. So you guys stay tuned, all right? Now, I'm going to be coming to a wrap of this show. I'm going to coming to an end of this show. I don't know, what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on this topic? What is your whole, do you think Denilson is telling the truth? Do you think he should pursue this whole thing legally? Or are you going to just wait until, are we going to wait until we hear Mark's side of the story? What do you guys think? I'd like to know your thoughts in the comment section. All right, and of course, if you enjoyed this video, if you liked this video, do not forget to click the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and of course, share to your friends. I am your humble sweetheart, Jessie Rogers, here again on The Kiwi Show, and until next time, this is bye-bye.